Well, thank you.
Alrighty, I think we are live. Good evening, everyone. We hope that y'all are having an awesome day. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight for our next episode of Church Unplugged. We are super excited about the topic tonight and just what the conversation is going to be, and we hope that you are excited as well. Before we jump in, as always, you can leave any comments, any questions. I will be monitoring the chat throughout the night, and so we will be sure to address anything that we may get. And with that said, I'm going to introduce our amazing lead pastor, Mr. Frank McElhaney, who we are so glad to see back with us Wednesday night. And then also his beautiful daughter, Tanya Cummings, who is going to be joining us for this conversation. And so with that said, I think we're good to go ahead and get started. And like I said, let me just say how great it is to see you back, Pastor. We hope you're doing good. Do you just kind of want to update everyone on how you're feeling, how you're doing?
You know, I'm feeling good. I feel different, but can't explain that feeling. But I'm not. I'm not in any pain, or I'm not in anything. I'm not struggling for breath or anything. I'm actually doing very well along those lines.
Praise the Lord.
So over the next several months, I've got, I'll have to go through a cardiac rehab process. They actually said I could probably come out of that my heart would be in better shape after I got out of that than it was before I had heart attack.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I do have a little bit of heart damage, but the doctor said compared to compared stuff, it's not much.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we are so blessed that you're doing better, and we're so excited to have you back. So,
I
with that
appreciate
said,
everybody checking on me and everything.
yes.
My wife was telling people, somebody asked if it was okay to call, and she said, it's okay. He's talking a lot now.
Yeah.
I generally don't do that.
Yeah.
She was telling me, he's talking a lot. So.
Well, we love it. We love to hear your voice. So, like I said, we're so glad to have you back. We're glad that you're feeling good. And with that said, we were kind of talking earlier this week, and we wanted to kind of cover a range of topics tonight. One thing that we've all had a conversation on, especially recently, has been about kind of connection, and connecting with your loved ones, especially during a pandemic where we're told we're not really supposed to, personally connect. And so I'll go ahead and I'll just stay with you real quick, Pastor, if you want to just touch on what you've kind of been feeling when it comes to connection and the importance of having that personal one-on-one relationship.
I've never really been a social person. My wife Janet was, and she made me be sometimes. But other than that, I never really needed that. And until I became a Christian, pretty much was alone. I mean, I pretty much. But and I really kind of still felt that way, even as a pastor. To be honest with you, I was closer to my family than. I've got a couple of friends that I hang out with, but not even really that much if you think about it. But just when the pandemic started, a couple of months in, I found out I wasn't nearly as much a loner as I thought. I really wanted to be around people. And so while I don't intend to just fly in the face of some things, I just think that it's important for people to be together personally. And I'm going to say that as a church as well. I think it's important for a church to be together personally. I'm going to step out on a limb here and say Jesus did not design the church to be online.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And while it's a great tool and it's a great thing like that, there was a young man who went to, he's not a young man anymore, his name was Bill Wilson, and went to New York City. And he worked with inner city children and ultimately built a huge ministry and church there. But every person he brought on staff they bought an old building
Mhm.
or old house right down where the ministry was
Mhm.
and said, you know, the ministry's personal.
Yeah.
And he said, I want you close enough so you can visit the children that you minister to every week.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's always touched my heart.
Yeah.
When this pandemic started and, you know, you really didn't get to see people,
Yeah.
we tried Zoom and all kind of stuff, and it just never gave us the connection we need like it is when we're together. So
Absolutely.
it's become very important to me.
Absolutely. Well, and Tanya, I know you've mentioned in the past too, kind of how the pandemic has shifted your view on relationships, or kind of helped, reshape it. What are your opinions on that, and kind of what you'd like to share?
I couldn't agree more. I
Mhm.
mean, I think that it's actually such a sensitive topic for me
Mhm.
because I think I found a lot of heartbreak in ways in dealing with it. You find where your solid relationships are.
Yeah.
You learn quickly how much you do need relationships and how important it is,
Mhm.
and then how easy it is to fall into your loneliness. So you can just consume yourself with it, and then
Yeah.
also become paralyzed by it.
Yeah.
And it's been heartbreaking. And I've seen both good changes in relationships. I think that families that and friendships that continue to connect
Mhm.
and make to be intentional, which
Yeah.
I'm learning more and more you have to be intentional with your relationships.
Yeah.
I think that they found growth during this time.
Mhm.
And then I find that those that you didn't take the time to be intentional with one another, you end up, I think a lot of relationships suffered.
Yeah.
And people became further apart. And that has been hard for me because I've experienced both during this time. And but especially when it comes to church, there is just something I'll never forget. The first Sunday that we were back, and whenever
In
the
person.
mandate had lifted and we were able to all be back, even though our all may have been, just 10 at first,
Yeah.
outside of our leadership.
Right.
It was so good to be able to join together in that corporate worship.
Mhm.
And I've been thankful that our church has really respected both those that are comfortable being around people and those that are needing their space.
Yes.
And I feel that we were very intentional about choosing the place that we are worshiping at right now, with the theater, considering that the size of the auditorium is bigger than what what we need for seating right now.
Right.
But just so that people can continue to have that space.
To be comfortable.
And
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, I was like looking out during service, and I'm like, you know what? We need to start connecting. So now I'm trying to make it a point to say, like, turn around and say hi to each
Yes.
other. Wave, because we're almost 2 years into this.
It's crazy.
And you're talking like we've just become so used to keeping our distance in a
Mhm.
detrimental way.
Yes.
It's so
Yeah,
sad.
absolutely.
It's concerning to me, but people are needing to be careful. But
Yeah.
I just want us, let's look into each other's eyes and
Yes.
say, I see you. And you know what? I love you and I missed you.
Yes.
And it's good to see you and I hope you have a good week.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's important to allow people to have that option
Mhm.
to maintain some space, and that's the reason we still broadcast, so that
Yeah.
you can still have that option.
right.
But it's always important to have connection. I tell you what, a good hug helps a lot. Sometimes.
Yes.
It does. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
don't care what anybody says.
Well, and I'll never forget some of the
Even
people.
tough guys need it.
You're right. You're right. And getting to hug someone after so long, I'll never forget some people I've hugged after not
Yes.
seeing them since the pandemic. It was
Yeah.
very, very emotional for me.
There's a lot going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of staying, on this topic of connection and relationships. I think with the pandemic, not that it's wrong, but there's been so much focus on those that have unfortunately passed away, as there should be. It's a very, very unfortunate situation, and it's very hard for families, absolutely. But I think one thing that can maybe get overlooked is those that recover, whether it be from COVID, whether it be from any sort of illness or any medical event. It can be celebrated that, for a moment that, oh, they're recovering, that's amazing, which absolutely it is. And it's a huge blessing. But then sometimes it can be forgotten, or that recovery can be forgotten about and not necessarily addressed how difficult recovery can sometimes be. And so, Tanya, I'll actually ask you to start us off on this one, because you are an ovarian cancer survivor.
Yep.
Would you mind just kind of touching on your recovery with that and how your loved ones helped you through that?
Yes. And you know what? That even being said, just even after someone passes, you had mentioned that, sometimes we just go right there. Everybody's right there whenever it happens.
Right.
And then the times you really need it the most, when you are recovering, whenever you are lonely. And sometimes that recovery, like from a loss, can be a year, 5 years down the line.
Exactly.
And so just be obedient to the Lord if you hear that, within you that, to call and check on somebody. But it was crucial. I think one of the things I'm trying to be better at, because I overthink what someone might need, or I feel like I need to know exactly what they need. Once again, and I mention this a lot, that's really how incredible they really are. My Uncle Gary, for example, and Aunt Susan, they would just show up, and my Uncle Gary continues to, like, I remember after I had my surgery, he just showed up with like sandwich stuff. And it wasn't like, what exactly do you need? But we like loved everything that he brought.
Yes.
But there was just, I don't know. And I remember what, for example, my Aunt Diana, whenever my mother passed away, things we don't think about. She was like, I'll be willing to sit at the house and just answer the phone for y'all if you need. Because that was still whenever, we were still using our regular phone a lot. And I'm like, oh my goodness, to think of those things that we don't really consider every time, but the willingness just to be with someone and know, like, helping. I know Sister Christy would always say, I can come and, wash the dishes for you. I can come and, clean the house for you, whatever you need. And it's big. And I think just your mind, whenever you went through something, through a surgery, like even, having, just recently having the heart attack, like I know that had to mean so much to have all those texts and phone calls, and people may not be able to answer right away, but it's so nice to be able to read that when can't sleep at 2:00 in the morning, and you're like, oh my goodness, what I mean? Like, it's such a blessing, and we just need one another.
We need people. Yeah.
We need one another. We were created to be in relationship.
And some people just know what to do.
They do,
And you talked about your Uncle Gary, your Aunt Nana. There's a lot of Christy. There's people, they just know what to do. Yeah. They don't ask you if you want that.
They just do it. Yeah.
And so a lot of times you talked about, especially if someone does pass away, the time between the passing away and the memorial service and getting all of the other stuff handled, that's not the rough time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's after everybody goes home. So
everybody else's lives kind of go on.
It's my privilege to be able to talk to people. I just, Tanya was talking about, there was a dear friend of mine passed away not too long ago, and I was at the funeral, and his wife walked up to me, and we've known each other for a long time. She said, well, I told her, I said, I asked, how she was doing, and she of course told me I'm doing fine. I said, I know. And I said, but the time's coming
Mm-hmm.
when you're going to need some folks around you.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I hope they'll be there. And I said, well, I can promise you they will.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew her, I knew people she knew. So I had an opportunity to influence some of those steps, that and I'm old enough, most people don't bother me, if I tell them something. So they listen to me. And so those are things that we need to realize is that, and the process of time, somebody said time heals all wounds. Yeah, I'm not so sure that's true.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty good for a saying, and I wish I'd have thought of it, but there's stuff that people deal with a lot that you don't see.
Yeah.
So you have to, like this pandemic thing, one of the things that's coming to the surface now, everybody seems to be so on edge.
Yeah.
They seem to be ready to just snap off at the tiniest little thing. So I've had to be real careful with people that just, because it makes you want to snap back off.
It does.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Because you went through the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just, this has just kind of got to a place where people need a little bit of time to reconnect.
Yeah.
Socially,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally.
Yes.
And look, I just had a heart attack, so recovery is still in the process of that. But I'll tell you, if you get a chance to have a heart attack, pass it up.
It's not fun.
It's just not that fun.
It's not worth it.
But your thoughts go to so many different things at the same time. And I've always been a fixer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always want to fix things for everybody else. Tanya's the same way.
Yep.
Scott's the same way. But in years past, I've realized I can't do that. But that's one of the first things that started coming to mind when I'm having a heart attack the first thing was, God, me and you, if there's anything that's...
Are we good?
If there's anything between us, I need this. I want to be clear now, just so that's the first thing. But after that, realizing, there's pains and stuff you have, are just pains and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then stuff happens, this is not the same.
Yeah.
So, and there again, the same thing is during the process, the afterward part is where we need to pay attention. Because some people get depressed, some people just begin to isolate themselves.
Yes. And I will say on that too, people I think sometimes who have experienced something will not want to reach out maybe for your help because they don't want to feel like they're burdening you more than they think they already have.
More times than not.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. That's what I told somebody the other day. What do you need?
Yeah.
I'm good. No, I'm serious. We live for this.
Mm-hmm.
We live to be able to help some way. And man, I had people say, man, you need your yard mowed. They're calling me, you need your yard mowed, you need your house painted. I mean, no kidding. They want
to help.
They want to do something that makes them feel like they're a part of, because you've impacted their life somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had to learn to let people help.
Yeah.
And Tanya's helped me with that because, I remember one time I fell.
Mm-hmm.
I'd had surgery and I fell, and about 6 guys jumped up, and Tanya leaned over and said, let them help you. So I did the job and let them help me and stuff. But it's just people, that's who we are, is we want to be involved. And when we say, let me know what I can do to help, we're not kidding.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So very seldom do you have someone say, this is what I need. But I think that you brought up your Uncle Gary, Diana, Christy. There's several others. They just will show up and and help you. And a lot of times, what you can do, I think Tanya, you'd agree with me, is sometimes you can just be in the background.
Yeah.
And just intervene when somebody starts
Mm-hmm.
going a little overboard.
Yeah.
You know, just insert yourself into the space so they don't get overwhelmed with. And I've done that several times. Just not be. A lot of times it's hard for me to be in the background in situations like that because I'm usually not in the background. But you can just kind of pay attention to what's going on and bring somebody a glass of water or say, you know, why don't you sit down here for a few minutes? If they don't want to sit down, they'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they don't want the water, they'll tell you that, but they won't be mad at you for doing it.
Yeah.
And I think too is it going back to being intentional, but and when you are saying something, knowing what you're saying. This came up to me a couple of years ago, and I try to do that. When you're passing by someone, you say, "Hi, how are you?" And it's like we just say it.
It's just
We're
instinct.
not even stopping to go like, really, how is this person?
How are you?
And then waiting for a response.
Yes, you.
I'm good. How are you doing? I mean, and that's nothing. That's not connecting.
No.
But in the same sense, when you say to someone, "Please let me know if you need anything,"
Mean it.
don't say it if you haven't thought about it. You know what I mean? Really, what am I willing to do for them?
Mm-hmm.
If you need anything at all, please let me know. Well, if they said that they needed me to come watch their kids, am I available? If they said that they needed food, am I somebody
Can I do
that
it?
could cook
Yeah.
it? If they said they needed money, would I help to be able to provide something? Think about that and then be specific if you need to be. If you need me to cook you a meal, I would be glad to do that.
Yeah.
Or if you need me to come watch the kids, I can do that. Like it's me, whenever it comes to food, I'm going to say to you, more than likely, unless you've made a specific request for my sour cream chicken enchiladas or chicken and dumplings, it's going to be, I can get you a gift card. Don't be offended by it.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to be able to help you get food for your family and choose whatever you want to get. But I want to bless you in that way. It's just, that's really what I'm saying I'm able to give.
Yeah.
And I, in the same sense, we've got to be good about being able to, like you said, ask for help or allow
Receive help. Yeah.
Receive it. And to be able to say, I'm really good about encouraging other people to do that. I'm really bad about doing it for myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we need to do and understand that whenever people ask, like you said, if it's mowing the lawn or painting, they're trying to use their talent, their gifting to be able to bless you.
Exactly.
Let them do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just let them help you.
Absolutely.
I'm always real careful. I don't want to take advantage of anybody.
Right. Yeah.
I'm overly careful about that, I think, but by the same token, I don't want to take advantage of anybody. But when you have, like, I did have a heart attack last Friday.
Oh, has it been 1 week or 2 weeks?
It'll be 2 weeks this coming Friday. So like a week and a half.
So whenever, it wasn't long ago, I had a heart attack. So, but you have to understand the nurses and the doctors have been literally overwhelmed.
They have.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah.
They're literally overwhelmed. And so, but they treated me with the utmost respect.
Mhm.
They helped me. The doctors answered my questions, you know, and I'm not, I've been in the hospital several times, but I've never really had to have the level of care that I had to have this time with, and the nurses were just absolutely amazing. The doctors were.
They were so incredibly kind.
And they spent time. They talked to Nancy, the doctor. When the doctor started talking about food, and Nancy started asking questions about food, the doctor started talking to her, and he just smiles. He said, "You understand," and so she was just asking. And so But he took time to stay there and answer questions that, most doctors. And I'm going to tell you something. I've got my discharge papers, and that is the most detailed discharge packet I've ever received from the hospital. These usually say sign here and you're gone. Call us if you need anything. Well, I need to talk to them about that because have you ever tried to call? But it was just I'm just amazed at the level of care that is available to us. Always remember that when my eyes closed, I really didn't know if I was going to open my eyes again when I passed out. So always remember God has a part in this.
Yeah.
And we need to remember that as we go through life, it's pretty important to treat people like we'd want to be treated ourselves. And I like a song that Brother Cook sings. He said, be nice to the little guy on your way up, or you'll meet him on your way down.
That's great.
So just remember to pay attention to the people around you. I like what Tanya said, be intentional. I have to be real careful. I move pretty fast. And so some of the conversation I have is, how are you doing? I'm doing good. I won't remember that in 5 minutes. But if you stop me and look me in the eye and say, look, I'm doing okay. I've done this and that. Then I remember that conversation. So sometimes we need to be the one to initiate that kind of conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I can say too, I think a lot of times if you really do look someone in the face, and you can tell kind of how they're really doing,
Right.
and just their eyes and their spirit.
Enough time to be able to see that, and makes a difference. And two, I've been listening to a podcast or some of like sermons and different things by Craig Rochelle, and he's really brought up some great points that have helped me over the last couple of days, and remembering how busy that we get, and how, and I'm speaking mainly when it comes to ministry, and we get so busy in ministry, but there is nothing in the Word of God that talks about how busy Jesus was. It was never about, and I love how he said that, because, it's when you picture that, and it was like, Jesus wasn't walking around like, come on guys, we got to get to Damascus. We've got 10 minutes. Come on, let's go. And just going through. But you hear more of the Lord sitting down and fellowshipping with people. It's not even like the quick 10-minute, 5-minute. It's literally
intentionally
sitting with people and getting to know their hearts, and to know what it is, letting them know that they are loved and accepted.
Yes.
And we are in such a world that everything is so busy. We're
And
all
rushed,
so overwhelmed, and with all the things that are on our plate. But how many of those things do we really need to be doing? And, need to have, need to go. It's, we just don't.
Absolutely.
Well, relationships have been challenged in the last years, especially in the last couple of years. Because many companies have gone to working at home.
Yeah.
So you have no office staff. You don't have office meetings. You don't. You may get an email what your company does and stuff like that. But as far as dealing with people, I know probably the HR people are just loving it, but dealing with people has become kind of secondary as to just dealing with. So I think it's important for us as Christians, as a part of ministry, to understand the ministry is about people. That's what that's who we're here to minister to, as people. And whenever we lose sight of that, then we're going to find ourselves on the wrong side of ministry. What you was talking about, Jesus heard a man hollering for him in the middle of a crowd, and stopped on his way to heal a man's daughter, to minister to that man.
Yes.
And he told his guys, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the daughter died. Jesus said, don't worry about it. And brought her back to life.
Yeah.
So the thing that we need to realize is as we go through life, we're going to touch a lot of people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather touch them for good.
Yeah.
And have them remember me as some jerk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
No, definitely. And your priorities make a difference too.
Mhm.
I think that it's really telling sometimes that we can make time for so many things, but yet
Yeah.
we tend to put the Lord on the back burner.
Yep.
And that can be like in our time of worship, in
Mhm.
our Bible study, going to services, whether you're watching that online. And I think it's very easy for people, like whenever it is online, to just be like, oh, I encourage people, if you are watching online for service, like legit just sit down and watch and have service,
Yeah.
because when you're busy doing other
Put it on in the
things,
background or
you're
do
still,
yeah.
that's and that's
Busy,
easy
yeah.
to do. Like, I mean, it's very, very easy to do, but to like literally sit down and be a part of that worship experience and peace. Because if you were in service, you wouldn't be like, washing your dishes at the same time, but it's the busyness. We're
Yeah.
trying to basically, as the saying goes, kill two birds with
Yeah.
one stone. Whereas we want that time with the Lord to be sacred and not be, because he already gets most of my conversations are with the Lord or in the car on the way to work.
Yeah.
I'm driving and I'm talking to the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm not setting aside time just to commune with him.
Yeah.
But yet I want him to be the most important part of my life.
Right.
I want him to be my guide and my comfort and my strength and my shield. But yet I only pick him up whenever it is convenient at a time that I can do two things at one time.
Right.
And so it is being even an intentional in that relationship.
Yeah,
As
absolutely.
we grow closer to the Lord, our relationships also will grow closer together.
Absolutely.
So
The time to build relationships is not in the crisis, it's before the crisis.
before the
Absolutely.
crisis,
Absolutely.
Once
That's
you get in
good.
the crisis, your mind won't go
Yes.
places it needs to go.
Yeah,
So you need to have that relationship built prior to the crisis.
absolutely.
So I think a lot of times, and this isn't the topic, but I think a lot of times that's one of the things that marriages fall into problems is they haven't built the relationship before the crisis.
Yes, true.
So it's really important to build the relationships with children, adults, friends, whoever.
Yeah.
before
Everyone,
the
yeah.
crisis.
And I know I really had a hard time doing this, that especially for that first little bit, because I am a social person.
Yeah.
And I had a battlefield of my mind going on.
Yeah.
You had the snowvid happen, and that was just crazy town because we had the snow.
That
and
was a
so
whole
forth.
nother
Yeah,
different
the
thing of
blackout.
quarantine.
I mean,
Yeah.
just the whole piece of that. There was so, and I still believe that the enemy is just wreaking havoc
Yeah.
in people's minds and thoughts, lives,
Yeah.
because we've had to be so much alone
Mhm.
that it really has taken a toll on people.
Yeah.
And we need to raise up a standard against him and
Amen.
take back what he's
Amen.
stole or is trying to steal.
Yep.
And just say no, because we need those relationships. I can
Absolutely.
think I felt so alone and could be surrounded by people,
Mhm.
even felt so unworthy and
Yeah.
unloved, not appreciated.
Mhm.
And but that's because I think that extended time of us having to kind of be apart. You know what it reminds me of? When you're cousins, like you have so much fun when you're together, but then whenever you go, like you all go back to your house, you haven't
Mhm.
seen each other until the next family reunion or next
Yeah.
like Christmas or whatever. You almost like have to break ice again
Yeah.
to be around each other. And I think that that's what's happened to us, is that we truly, in the church part of it, it's been so far that we have to kind of go back getting to be around each other, knowing one another, and
Yeah.
then those long periods of
time.
time, that we've had without that. Sorry, that just was a thought that came to mind.
No,
That
it's
reminds
good.
me,
Yeah.
because I remember being so excited to be around people, and then my cousins and stuff.
Yeah. It just shows what truly matters,
Yes.
at the end of the day, and it's connection and people and
Yes.
the Lord and everything. So thank you both so much for this conversation. I think it's very timely and very important. And so I'm glad we got to have it. I hope y'all are as well. And thank y'all so much for joining us. As always, we hope that this ministered to you and that you are just abundantly blessed as always. Don't forget that you can join us next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for our next broadcast. And you can follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and you can join us every Sunday for service at the Cinemark Stonehill Movie Theater, auditoriums 9 and 6. With that, 10 a.m. Thank you very much, sir. With that said, thank y'all so much once again, and we hope y'all have a blessed rest of your week.
Good night.
Good night.